people to relocate. So if you're thinking of relocating to the UK, Andrew and Mark are full of resources and information, and they'll go through that in just a second. Tonight, our guest speaker is going to be speaking specifically on visa and recruitments. So, Mark, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Shanti. Welcome, everyone, and appreciate you joining us from all over the world. We've got America, Canada represented, South Africa again. I think a few people have a power outage, load shedding, I understand, so a few people can't log on, unfortunately, which is a shame, but the meeting is recorded, as you've all been just updated anyway as well. So if this is your first one, welcome. We present this every first or second week of the Wednesday of a month, giving all free advice to everybody moving to the UK. So myself and Andrew have worked each other for many years together. I tend to cover the south of England. Andrew covers the north of England. He'll come onto that himself. But I first started in the business in 1986 as an estate agent for 21 years. And in the last 14 years, I've been dealing with corporate relocation. So I'm moving essentially everybody coming over from any country in the world to move over to the UK with a job. And so I've gone from the selling side to the letting side. I've been a landlord myself for 22 years, so I get a good idea on what it's like from a landlord's perspective. I've also been a tenant for pretty much 10 years as well. And I've also worked in a friend of mine's estate agency with 250 properties on a consultancy basis, doing the lettings and property management. So I've seen everything angled from images, check-ins, check-outs, management, referencing, etc., etc. So any angle you look from. So that's how we're very, very well versed into sort of what the problems are finding a property, because as most people who are trying to rent a property or even buy a property, it's just impossible. I think Andrew's got some good stats later to reveal about that, but it's so hard. It's been incredibly difficult. But hopefully the expertise and the black book of contacts that we've got helps us get there. So we work on a one-to-one basis. This is free this evening to talk, and we can chat again on a one-to-one basis if anybody's looking to come over here. The next month, 3 months time, 6, 12 months time, doesn't matter. More than happy to just try and give you and just put you in the right direction. Some people move with pets. We get a lot of requests to people to move with pets, which is very difficult for a lot of people, but we understand that. That's fine. But we get lots and lots of questions with that. There's no easy route around it. It's simple. Sometimes it's just a massive hard graft with making those 20, 30, 40, 50 phone calls a day to estate agents, because they won't pick up the phone to you. They won't email you back. So we know what to say to the estate agents and what not to say to them, when to say it, when not to say it. Shanti's relocated many times over the years before as well, so knows this at first hand as well, across the continent as well as across the States. And many people I think on here as well are either thinking of coming over to the UK or have moved before again as well. It's you descended from a lot of the South African SAFA Facebook groups, incredibly difficult. There's no easy way around it at all. It's tough. It's tough. But this is what we do every day. It's what we do for a living. So we're very, very used to doing it, and we're used to the problems, and we cope with it, hopefully, as much as we can. But yeah, so I cover the south of England, generally from sort of up to toward Birmingham, and Andrew will cover, say, Birmingham and above. So I'll leave on to Andrew now, who can then introduce you to Ryan afterwards. Thanks, everyone.
Evening, everyone, and yeah, really looking forward to the webinar tonight. Obviously, looking forward to hear more on visas as well. It's something which is obviously quite technical, which we know Ryan's got a lot of expertise in, so it'll be of interest to myself and Mark as well, because it's kind of, that's the front end stuff. For myself personally, we are Manchester based. We have covered Manchester down to Birmingham since 2010. Started investing in 2004, so I'm a landlord also myself. So again, we see it from both sides. So we understand the landlord mentality, and we understand the tenant find mentality of what we need to do, what we need to say to the respective agents and landlords to effectively get approval. So yeah, 2004 was when the investment and the property find side of things started. 2010, I actually got a master's degree in property. So we advise buyers and people looking to rent as well throughout the area, work with everyone from around the world coming with pets, coming with children, retiring to the UK. We've helped with all kinds of cases. Everyone has their different challenges, but we always get the right answer in the end. Like Mark says, it's pretty competitive over here. I'll put a few statistics on our Facebook page. There's a monthly report goes out from our property portals. I'll put the Facebook page up in the chat so you can get to them if you want, but it just links to the reasons why, if you're emailing or calling, you're not getting responses. It's mainly because there's about 40 applicants for every property at the minute. Hopefully that will die down, but that's where we come in with the relationships to get the deals over the line, in effect. I'll hand over to the main event for the evening, because I know everyone's excited to hear from Ryan. Any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end for myself, Mark or Ryan, and I'll pop the link for the page in on the chat as well, so you can have a look. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks everyone for having me here. Andrew, Mark, Shanti, I really appreciate this opportunity.
Sure.
And it's a great opportunity also to share with like motivated companies where your purpose is to really add value to the relocating client's journey and help streamline that process. I would view my company, Move Up, our role is in the very beginning stages of the relocation process. It's you know, to first assess if you can even consider the UK feasible, and once you know it's feasible, then you can obviously reach out to these guys and they can help streamline that relocation process and limit the risk of not finding that right premises and getting your foot in that door. So I'm very excited to be partnering with you guys and to be affiliating with your services. It's really great to add value like that. So I'm grateful for your services and your contributions. So today, yeah, this is a great opportunity for me to introduce Move Up. We primarily started out as a UK immigration advisory, who placed a lot of emphasis on the UK's immigration legislation, which constantly changes. So too does the processes and the recognized qualifying requirements. We've since then progressed and added more diverse offerings where we stepped into British nationality law. So we help first-time claims, but we also help renewals lodged in South Africa. So if you want a British passport, or if you want to find out if you can qualify for a British passport, or if you want to renew a British passport, we've got a team that can help you with that. And then of recent, as in December this year, we've opened up a recruitment division. The challenge with the recruitment division, what we're finding is that we first got to find the employer who has that vacancy. And then from there, we can help with the placements. So it's not like our visa services where anyone can approach us to see if we can help them. In the recruitment side, we can only offer help with certain vacancies that we've come across. So the recruitment isn't quite where I would like it to be, where we have thousands of vacancies and we can help place as many people as possible. The recruitment side is a bit more restrictive, but we're still excited that we're taking steps forward in that direction. And then of recent, we've also Move Up is in a negotiation to facilitate and redistribute recognized English tests for visa requirements. The beauty of that, the British government, they have 3 testing institutions that they recognize globally. And they call these 3 testing institutions the Secure English Language Tests. And what Move Up has done is we've secured exposure to one of the 3 tests, which means we'll have unique access to new stock. And we're hoping that that's going to help streamline the testing times and the availability of appointments, and also add value to the South African markets. As you can hear thus far, Move Up is based in South Africa. We run by South Africans, and we help, and we've built relationships with the visa decision makers and the British government officials in South Africa. We do have relationships, yes, with the team in the UK, the Department of UK Visas and Immigration, and we have relationships with the Department of Her Majesty's Passport Office. But at this stage, you know, this webinar, what I really like about it is they've got a global reach. You know, these guys are based in the UK, and they're really hands-on. My team and I, we primarily helping South Africans in their journey, and so yes, there's lots of opportunities to be had. Move Up is a team of 5 permanent employees, and yes, like I say, we service primarily South Africans, but we've helped South Africans relocate and lodge applications around the globe, from Hong Kong to the USA. We've helped South Africans abroad. And we're open to other nationalities. It's a little bit more restrictive, or we don't have as much expertise in dealing with the considerations that maybe other departments have, but we're open to it. So where we add value is that we offer free assessments when it comes to the visa applications and assessing that feasibility. And our free assessments, our unique approach to the market is that we first conduct a theory assessment, so a theory based on the eligibility of the applicant. Do they meet the requirements based on the information they can tell us? We take it a step further. Part of that free assessment, we want to then conduct a feasibility assessment based on the applicant's documents on hand. And what we find is sometimes applicants don't have key time-consuming documents, birth certificates, marriage certificates, documents that normally South African Home Affairs would have to issue. And that often can really set the application behind. We know of cases of applicants waiting 3 years just to get the correct birth certificate. So rather than quote and offer representation in a case only for the applicant to have the documents ready at a much later stage, we assess if they've got the correct documents on hand, and if they don't, we then help advise on solutions to get it as quickly as possible. Only once those key documents are in hand do we then offer representation. And what we're trying to do is just stimulate an environment where we say, look, clients, we really want to operate in your best interest. And at this stage, if you don't have those documents, you're not going to be able to apply soon. Let's first get your documents on hand, and then let's start prioritizing your application and setting a realistic, feasible time of travel. So that's one of our unique approaches to the market. Another one is that we offer a full refund guarantee on our representation. And how that works is we're saying that if we choose to represent your case and upon submission it gets refused, then we haven't been able to guarantee that successful outcome first time round, to which we will then refund our case fee in full. Another thing that I really pride my team's approach to the market is that we offer quick response times. I think we're industry leaders in terms of response times. We maintain generally 4 working hours, worst case 6 working hours, but on average we strive for 2 working hours response time. So if you do have queries, be encouraged to send out my team emails or give us a call. You'll find we're very open to being contacted. Another differentiating aspect of Move Up in terms of our approach to the market is that we've standardized our case fees. So a lot of companies out there are going to ask, well, what do you do and what's your employment status before they offer representation? And personally, what I find with that is what they're actually asking is, how much do you get paid and how much money do you have? And then we'll thumb suck a fee based on your perceived household income, which to us is just inconsistent. So we like to just standardize our fees, and it's not adjusted based on what you earn. And another factor to consider when choosing an immigration industry representative is if they have UK-based offices, they have to charge in pounds to cover those fees, and as you're hearing now, the pound rate is really high. So what you'll find is we're quite price competitive because we're charging in rands and we're operating in rands. So there's value in that. And then as previously mentioned, we are SA based, we're on SA soil, so you're not dealing with foreign team that hasn't ever dealt with the British government in South Africa. We have quite a lot of experience in submitting cases here. So from that perspective, there's also value in that. I'd just like to encourage people to consider. And so that's really where we're at in terms of what MoveUp does and how we service the market and what value we add in terms of the relocation process. My role at the company has shifted quite a bit. I've done my time as caseworker and studied the legislation from the ground up. But now I'm moving more towards the business development and automation side of things. So helping to streamline the flow and help us get a bigger scope of offerings. And then what's also exciting to note is the future of the immigration industry. The British government is advancing and really stepping into a world of digitalization, and they're looking to especially with COVID's impact on the industry, they're looking to set up a fully digitalized, non-touch experience. So one of these days, you're going to be able to apply for your visa from your phone in the comfort of your own home. And you're not going to need to touch anything. You can process payment from your house. You're not going to need to hand in your passport. The days of stickers being placed in your passport is coming to an end. The need for the biometric resident permit, the card that South Africans get with the extended visa permission, that's coming to an end. You'll already see that the new ancestry visas, which normally have a 5-year validity in them, they're already expiring at the end of 2024. And the reason for that is the biometric resident permits will cease to be issued from that date. The new system will be that you'll be able to have an online account, and you would be able to pass through the border seamlessly with facial recognition software they'll have on that side. They won't even need to cross-reference your data to your passport, which they manually do at the airport. So we're looking forward to a time where passing Heathrow Airport's border control will be a lot quicker, less queues. I'm looking forward to that sort of travel. It's very technology forward. It's very exciting to see the direction the British government's going for and the way that the industry's headed in terms of the future of travel. That really gets me excited. Yeah, so that's MoveUp, and that's who we are and what we offer. I'm very excited to hear if there are questions at the end. You know, if people are looking to find out about visas, or if you're looking to find out about recruitment advice, my team and I can definitely add value there. And then as these gentlemen have just introduced themselves, they're there to help with that integration of sourcing location. Gentlemen, do you also source assistance with finding schools for families abroad?
We actually hosted an entire webinar on that. I think it was our second webinar.
Okay.
And
That was the
we have the recording. So
brilliant, brilliant.
We have partnerships with people whose specialty is, I think Andrew can talk to that. That's his one of his
core offerings. That's great. Yeah. Because also what we're finding at MoveUp is we obviously partnering with as many affiliates like yourselves, which add value in the transaction. And what we're finding is while the applicant is preparing their visa case, not necessarily have their visa on hand, they're beginning to make this sort of research. They're beginning to look for where can we move once we get our visa? Where are we going to go? How much of the flight's going to be? How are we going to get there?
How their pets are going to get here?
How their pets? How are they going to send their possessions? What possessions can they send?
Yeah.
Then there's also the foreign exchange considerations. You know, how much can they send? What's the implications? So the relocation, there's lots of moving parts in the relocation process. There's so much to factor in. It's one of the most stressful experiences that families go through, packing up home and moving cross borders overseas. So we understand that, we empathize with that, and I just want to raise my hand to say my team Move Up, we're very passionate about helping South Africans, and we'd really like to hear more from you. If you want to hear more from us, please be encouraged to get in contact. We're going to be opening up for questions.
Yeah. So if you would like to ask a question, you can take yourself off of mute or raise your hands. Put it in the chat if you're too shy to ask the questions, but it's.
I just had a quick question, Ryan, myself. If providing everything's all in place, you've got the documents, or when they've got the documents, is there a rough time you've got for an application that they're looking to proceed with, just roughly?
Sorry, can you elaborate on that question? So time as to once you've got your documents.
You've done your feasibility, you know what they need to say, right, so January the 1st, we're going to start the application. Is there just a rough time frame of how long it would normally take for the UK to get our act in order?
Yes, so part of our assessment is to assess which of the visas South Africans can, or the applicant can qualify for. And the industry uses the term spousal visa when referencing the eligibility based on marriage. But the reality is that there's variations of permissions to granted to spouses. So you could be married to an ancestry applicant and then you're getting an ancestry dependent visa, or you could be married to a British passport holder and you're getting that settlement visa. So the variations also impact the processing times. So the settlement cases, the family dependents of British passport holders, that's the one we're seeing the biggest lag on. That takes the longest. We're looking at an average of 3-month processing time in those cases. And sometimes it can even go up to 6 months. I had a chat with some senior officials at the UKVI last week, and asked, please, when are they going to be re-implementing the priority visa service for those cases? Because they've only recently, since COVID, been able to implement the priority visa services for the student visas, which isn't low numbers, and for the work permits, again, lower numbers. The visitors and the settlements, which we needed the most, they're yet to be implemented. So we're looking at standard processing time. So it all varies, but part of my team's assessment, at the conclusion of the assessment, will address the processing times expected based on what we're currently experiencing, and we give that cost breakdown all on record. That's part of our standard operating procedure.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, this is Liz Albert speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, what I need to ask you, my daughter and son-in-law is looking to immigrate, but now it goes about how much do you have to have in a savings account, or, because they're looking at finances in the UK to have something available. He is going to get a job there. There is a certainty of him finding a job, but my daughter doesn't have a job at this stage. So what are we looking at? How much do they have to have in an account?
Okay, so I need to circle back to how they're going to get permission to pass through the border the first time around. So if the permission is based on that employment contract that your son is going to be getting, then it looks like he'll be leaning towards the work permit, which is known as the skilled worker visa.
Sorry, he has an ancestral British British
brilliant,
passport.
brilliant. You see, now that changes the dynamics substantially. We know of cases that have got away with 15,000 Rand in their savings account for each applicant, so a total of 30,000 Rand for a couple. And the British government have been happy with that as evidence of proof to financially accommodate themselves upon arrival. It's also, they factor in where they're going to be staying. So if they're staying with friends or family, that reduces the initial overhead costs. If they're going to need to pay for their accommodation, and they can detail what accommodation arrangements they've made, the British government can help factor in how many months do they have to provide for themselves. But in terms of a formal financial requirement, in their case, the ancestry visa is a lot more less restrictive, shall I say, in that financial threshold, the British government are very lenient in the ancestry cases and the proof of supporting funds. So there's a lot of wiggle room. So it's not a clear-cut X is needed in order to qualify. Also, what's interesting about the ancestry supporting funds is that a lot of my competitors misinform the industry that that money needs to be maintained for X amount of days in order to be recognized. When in fact, what the entry clearance officials are looking at is where did that money come from and how did you derive it? So if you've maintained it for longer than 30 days, then the British government can't necessarily question it as like a questionable or illegally raised transaction. But if they do raise it soon before submission, and we have clients literally receiving the money on the Monday and then printing their statements on the Tuesday, we need to just explain where that money comes from, so that concerns of legitimacy and above board transactions are addressed. That's
Okay.
really the crux of that.
No
so
surprise,
what
we
you
have quite a few questions. I'm going to actually call out the names to go because we have an order here. Charlene, I'll call your screen name based on
Yes.
your answer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Charlene,
So,
you go next. Yes.
so yeah, thanks so much, Shanti. The last time I chatted with you and Mark, you know, we were talking about pet relocation and that.
Yeah.
And so we actually, we now have our house is now on the market. We had a number of small little repairs and touch-ups and whatever like that we had to make to the house first before we could put it onto the market. I mean, it was just,
You said that, yeah, I remember that.
yeah, and just the rainy season just made it really impossible. But yeah, somehow we managed to get it done, and
Nice.
now we're in a big rush. Now the only thing now is that all the equity is stored up in the sale of our house, and so it's kind of a matter of now it's like, all right, you know, once the house is sold, then what? Okay, like I don't expect you guys to answer that very next thing, because obviously, what, you know, it'll be what is the like now going to be the next step. So for one, I wanted to definitely ask about the you know, the ancestral visa and so on. My wife is you know, she's got the ancestral visa. Her grandmother was born in the UK.
Yeah.
So I'm going to obviously come on. Myself and my daughter are going to come on as dependents, and then obviously, what does that mean for us as far as, you know, looking for a job? You know, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
And
look, yeah.
and then I just think also, yeah, obviously, you know, just the visa application. You know, we just, you know, like for example, I saw something on one of the groups today. Like if there's a slight discrepancy about, okay, the name on your ID or something, or on your visa that's a little bit different, then, or if it's spelled different, it can create quite a bit of problems in there. And like for example, the correct spelling of my name is D-E-A-N-E. However, I mean, you know, since I was in school, you know, I've spelled it D-E-A-N, and everybody else has spelled it D-E-A-N, but my ID says you know, D-E-A-N-E. And I've also got a middle name, Simon.
Yeah.
And I've also just scrapped that. I've always just made it Dean Peter Joseph.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're concerned about that, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I'll probably more than likely just, you know, get a new ID with just those three names and so on. I probably will have to apply for a new passport and so on. But we pretty much figured, yeah.
Dean, there's two things I can quickly address there. The first thing, the name complication, your eligibility is based on marriage.
Okay.
So your passport name and your marriage certificates are going to be your key qualifying documents. All right.
Okay.
So your full names need to be in those two documents.
Okay.
Any other correspondence or school engagement or qualifications, that's not a qualifying factor.
Okay.
The British government are looking just to verify your identity. So I wouldn't worry about that. Even informal colloquial names or anything like that, nicknames, that's permitted. It's not grounds for dismissal. It's just those key documents. If you were the ancestry main applicant, okay,
Okay.
and there's a discrepancy in your registered name to the registered or your parents' registered name on your certificate to your parents that you're trying to link with. So you're presenting your parents' birth certificate, you present yours, and there's discrepancies there. That's where the ancestry visa gets complicated.
Okay.
But so I wouldn't worry about it in your case. Your eligibility is based on marriage, not on birth registrations. So that's not too much of a factor. And then in terms of the financial timings, you know, that the IHS, the immigration health surcharge, you know, that's 60 grand per applicant, compulsory fee. So that's already 180 grand in your family's case alone. What we're seeing is the banks don't authorize that sort of amount of payment easily. SARS as a stop order on it. So you literally have to go in. South Africans have to go into their bank first and pre-arrange permission to make that amount, that transaction amount. So that's just a little hurdle you're gonna be facing. But order of priority, it sounds to me like you're gonna wait for sale of the house to transfer. You're gonna be in a little bit of a residence gap where the house is going to be sold and you still need to get your visas. This is part of the usual stressful application in these cases. I wouldn't worry too much. You need to make some sort of temporary accommodation arrangements once that transfer reflects where you're going to stay while you wait for your visa. The visa only takes 3 weeks, so I wouldn't worry too much. It's pretty quick from the date that you apply. And then there was something else I wanted to say.
About the dependents. Yeah, I mean, as far as dependency is concerned, with my wife's got she's got ancestral rights.
Yeah,
my daughter and I are going to come on as dependents.
Yeah.
That, you know, as far as applying for any type of work, does that interfere with any of the work?
Oh, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. The work thing. So the work thing, majority of our ancestry cases, they go over without work lined up.
Okay.
UK employers want to meet you before they offer you the job. They need to know how serious you are about going to the UK and what permission you have to be there. So if you arrive there for an interview and you say, I'm here, I can attend an interview, they'll snap you up. But it's the people that apply. Roles reversed. If you here as an employer in South Africa and you receive a CV from someone in Nigeria saying, you know, I can do your job at a lower rate, you're like, when are you going to get here? How realistic is it? You know, you're not going to be as willing to offer a job to someone who sends you a CV from far away. And that's what South Africans expect the UK employers to do, is to put a lot of hope in this foreign CV.
Yes.
You know, you got to really have some strong skill set for them to stop in their tracks and go, okay, this guy's serious. So that's my advice with that. I wouldn't worry too much about the employment. Lots of guys worry about it.
If I may, we have 4 other people waiting to ask questions.
Sure. Let's go.
Charlene, if you can connect with Ryan offline, that would be great. So
awesome.
let's just try to at least give everyone 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So we can come back if we have time. So Marcus, you're next on.
Good evening to you guys. My question is basically, I currently was in the UK 2004 to 2006 on a working holiday visa. Currently looking for a skilled worker visa. I currently have an international degree with UNISA as a transport economist. I just want to know, please, what are my chances of getting a skilled workers visa? And I currently have a passport already. I mean, it's available ready, basically.
So Marcus, the best answer to your feasibility is actually based on the recruitment vacancies that the UK advertise themselves. So if you do a research on, say, Reed, a popular recruitment thing there, and you see there's lots of vacancies for your skill set, that'll tell you that the demand for your expertise is high. And we consider that a market test, an employment market test, to see what the market going rate is. You'll understand how much they're willing to pay for your skill set, and then you'll see the number of vacancies will determine the demand. That's the best way to assess if you've got a good chance. And then from there, what you need to do is try and find a way to contact those companies directly. If you reply on that read, you're going to get like a 0 response rate, because you'll find 9 out of 10 times that read advertisement is just a recruitment agency, and recruiters don't prioritize foreign applicants. So the best way to actually secure that skilled sponsorship, based on my own experience in helping South Africans do this, is that you need to try and approach employers directly that you know are advertising and looking for vacancies. That would be my answer.
Okay. Kevin is actually, Miguel is next and then Kevin. So Miguel, you're next.
Albert, so yeah, a great presentation. Thank you very much for your time. So I have a quick question. I have my son in South Africa. He's got Portuguese citizenship. He's got a 5-year-old child and his partner. They're not married, and she's South African. Very little skills. What are the chances of them coming through for the UK if they came through? So I'm on a pre-settled status. Could I bring him on as my dependent, because they currently don't have any work and they sort of depend on me? Can I bring them over to the UK? Number one. Number two, I've got a company. Could I employ his partner, as she's not married to him? Could I go through the employment process and bring her on an employment contract, and then he comes through as dependents? That's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like it. Nice question. So the pre-settled status for them to qualify as family dependents, the EU definition is a lot broader in family dependents. So they do allow for adult dependents. They also actually allow for your parents to be dependent on you. So if your parents were South African, they could join you. The key though is you would need to evidence a 2-year dependency. So you would need to show that every month for the last 2 years, you've been putting money into their account and they're financially dependent on you. And you're like playing an active role in their life, as opposed to a random family member that you haven't had that financial support. So that's what we've been witnessing from that feasibility. But it's a good question. My colleague Jason is actually a good guy to talk to. You could send him an email, jason@moveup.co.za. He might also provide more insights in that case. In terms of the work permit, there's also another option that they can consider doing is one of them goes over as a full-time student. Okay, furthers their career. So the full-time student would get a student visa, the tier 4 student visa, and the partner, even though unmarried, can present 2 years of cohabitation evidence and can work full-time in the UK, help cover costs. The little one can join too. So and then at the end of that student visa, the main applicant, the student, gets an additional opportunity to, once they qualify, another 2-year work permit. That time spent in the UK under that tier 4 dependency, though, it doesn't count towards residence. So maybe later down the line, then they can start introducing themselves to employers for that sponsorship role. At least that's a good foot in the door. But yes, the skilled worker permits, if you wanted to offer them that work permit approach, you would need to register and pay £2,000 to have a license to employ non-UK nationals now. And then you would need to advertise that role for a good 6 weeks to show that no one locally has that skill set. And then you can request a certificate for the role. And then, yes, they can go over. One of them can go over as a skilled worker. It's just the key with that is you got to identify what role that vacancy is and where it plays on the skills shortage list. So there's a little bit of additional factors to consider there. But I encourage you, if you are serious about that skilled worker visa, we're very willing to help employers, UK-based employers, with that registration process and with assessing where they are in terms of that skill recognition.
A maths teacher would be is in that skill
shortage list. Yeah.
Shortage list as of now. Yeah. Yeah,
look, there's short-term provisions. So like truck drivers and care workers, they've been added, but it's a short provision. So they only get a maximum of a 12-month visa. and it doesn't offer settlement rights. So it's not a great solution. So I'm not actively promoting it for South Africans. I don't believe I mean, yes, it offers an opportunity, but at the end of the 12 months, you got to come back and you got a 12-month restriction. So,
yeah.
So it's not a
Cool.
long-term solution.
Thank you. I'll make contact with you guys. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Yes.
Thank you,
Kevin
Gavin.
is next, and then Crystal will go after Kevin.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Well, like yourself, Kevin.
Good, thanks. I just want to ask quickly, I see your contacts, you are based in Cape Town, if I'm correct.
That's correct, yeah.
Now tell me the form of communication that you use, is it only via email or do you do Zoom meetings or Zoom
We
communications?
we can do Zoom. We actually normally work on Teams ourselves, but Zoom is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, Teams, I prefer Teams as well. Now I just want to know because I do have a few questions, but I don't want to keep everybody up here all night. So
no, Lacko, we can definitely schedule that. Please do. Please do.
100%.
Nice,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Kevin, do you mind putting your email in the chat so we can
Yeah, please, Kevin.
Yeah.
I will do.
Thank you. Yeah. And Crystal, you're next. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, it's Crystal's spouse speaking on her Zoom.
That's okay.
Okay, so Lizelda Loebscher is talking about us just now. About I've got the ancestral visa, and she wants to come over with me. So we really want to do it as a shared experience and going over as much possible, as little possible time apart as possible. So I got a strong support system in the UK. I got my mother there, so I can straight go to her. I got my two aunts.
Nice.
Work is not too much of an issue there. She's an HR manager. Another thing, we've been together for 6 years now, not married yet. Would it be easier for us to be married? Would the process go a bit more smoother? Yeah, what are the steps we should take now first? I mean, we started with her passport. I don't have to do anything. I mean, I got the passport. So what steps do we take, and can we sort of get a time frame on this? And
So the de facto relationships, we deal a lot of same-sex relationships. The guy's not even married, and they're lodging this recognized relationship. If you say to me that you haven't been living together, or you got a long distance relationship, or the last 12 months you haven't been together, then I would consider then you can just register a marriage. You don't necessarily have to have a formal ceremony and reception. It's for those. The need for a full marriage is really for those cases where the relationship hasn't even been for 2 years, but the couple are serious about each other and they want to relocate together. We've witnessed this transaction so many times. What you can do is still go over on your own if you wanted to first, and set up home and assess the market, or just find a place and then your partner comes over. But like you said, you'd prefer to go over and experience it together. That's completely also fine. The de facto requirement is that you need to evidence that you live like a married-like couple. And what that means is you need to evidence that you share living expenses like married couples do. So you need to evidence that someone pays for the TV, someone pays for electricity, someone pays for groceries, however you handle the living expenses. If it's only coming off one person and there's no bills going to both of your names at the same address, it gets a bit more complicated. But like I say, the worst case scenario is that you can just simply register the marriage at your local home affairs. You don't need to have a ceremony and reception if you don't have strong cohabitation evidence. And that's cheap and quick. Well, I say quick. You can apply with the written marriage certificate. You don't need the vault. I mean, you don't need the unabridged for the ancestry case. So yeah, it is quick. The unabridged is more for British passport applications, so you wouldn't worry about that. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, and then just another quick question: would it be okay if she had to come over with me initially on a holiday visa, and then we shouldn't do it like that?
You can't change while you're in country from visitor to employment category. So she would come over on holiday, she'd have to fly back, then apply for the visa, wait for the visa to be issued, and fly back again. So it's in her best interest to apply for the visa. Look, when it comes to the ancestry visa, where people get a fright is that IHS fee. That's compulsory. You got to pay it up front. That's 60 grand. The visa fee is another between 10 to 15 offhand. I'm not sure of it right now. You know, I'm obviously not on that front line anymore, but it's approximately that fee. In the event that the visa is refused, you get refunded that 60 grand.
Okay.
So the risk is only the 15 grand visa fee.
Okay.
So to me, the most logical thing is to buy the visa one shot and get it. Worst case scenario gets refused, you only lose the 15. You'll get the 60 back. You don't forfeit that.
Okay, because I was under the impression that if I had to go over, I would have to supply or provide some sort of pay slips or something to show that I can look after her. Or
Yeah, I mean, when she applies, if she applies separately, say it's a financial based decision that you have to go over first because you can only afford yours now and you can only afford hers later, then yes, you are going to need to evidence how you're going to sustain her and your residence arrangements. But if you apply together, if you can afford to apply together and you want to go together, then your employment status, like I said, majority of ancestry cases, they don't have work lined up before departure. So it's pretty straightforward that you apply with intent to work.
okay, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Good. I think those were all the hands. There are a couple of emails, Ryan, in the chat, and a couple of people who would like to follow up with you. No surprise, this is a massive topic, and I think that it may be worth repeating or having another webinar in another, short while.
I'm open to maybe monthly sessions or something like that. Yeah.
So I think that this is just the start of.
Can I just ask, is there any impact if, obviously I know they have to have funds in the account, if there's a property ready to move into, does that impact things in any way? Or
we also get asked the question about if they are willing to invest and buy, is there provision for that? Is there leniency in that?
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that the legislation has been designed to deter foreign investment because of the inflated value already from international markets. So there is no visa provision. There's no benefit. Even if you have accommodation lined up, it doesn't impact the decision making on an immigration standpoint. Those decision makers, if you got somewhere to go, great. If you don't, you're gonna have to rent. That's not their concern. The concern primarily is security, and then the legislation. They've just got a tick box that they're really working through. Do you meet these requirements? They factor it in. Yes, okay, you got accommodation, great. Or you don't. Okay, we'll factor that in. But it doesn't majorly. I don't know of cases that have been refused purely because the accommodation wasn't in order.
Yeah.
Good.
Good to know.
Yeah, well done. Good timing. It's,
Excellent. Definitely. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, guys, to also connect with more people like-minded and to hear the questions. It's good to get some market feedback as to what people are thinking and what they're worried about.
Yeah. Charlene, do you want to come back to you and follow up with any additional? We have a few minutes remaining.
So just the one I think it was pretty much answered, but just to get clarity. So we were told in our bank accounts we would need to have 30,000 rand sitting there for the next 3 months, and assuming that would be 30,000 rand each, which would equate to actually 60,000 rand. However, we don't have that. But from the sale of the house, there's obviously going to be a substantial amount of money that's going to be in our bank account. Would the UK government then say, okay, well, we see that you haven't had it for 3 months, but you certainly got enough money to come over to cover for your NHS and everything else like that? Is that going to be adequate for them?
Yeah, look, I mean, we deal a lot with the settlement applications, so the dependency of South Africans to British nationals. And in those cases, we deal with a lot of retirees that have to demonstrate a more strict and challenging threshold, which is that they need to maintain approximately 1.2 million rand for 6 months in order to qualify. So when you
Jeez.
compare that, yeah, exactly. When you compare that to the ancestry visa's informal expectation, you know, it's a lot easier. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is that cash savings requirements for the settlement visa. A lot of the retirees that we help, they sell their property to raise that capital, and then they apply shortly after the transfer reflects. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the British government are used to seeing these big deposits coming into someone's bank account for visa purposes. You just need to evidence that sale agreement. You need to say, we own this property, here's the sale agreement, here's the payment, that all correlates. So that's how
Okay.
we raise this money. So we're not money laundering for some gangsters and transferring the money for them and being their money goats. You know what I mean?
Okay, awesome.
So
Great
it's not
stuff.
money laundering. Yeah, that's
Right,
their
no.
concern. So if you can explain it, then they won't have a problem.
Great, awesome. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Great. Well, this has been great. I know that Mark and Andrew and Zansky work really hard to get really valuable resources at these free webinars. And so I want to thank Ryan for his time and resources. I learned a lot here tonight.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank
you, Ryan.
And it's a very complex topic, isn't it? It's not very black and white, and it's so many very liquid processes, and so it's great. I know that Zansky, Mark, and Andrew will be in touch with you, Ryan, to set up a follow-up, another webinar for those who may not have been able to make tonight, or people come back because their situation changed and it's moving. So for all of you tonight, thank you for joining us. This session has been recorded and it will be available for anyone who would like to listen to it. The contact information for Ryan, Mark, and Andrew, I'll put it up one more time on the screen. But any last minute questions? They're here. Let's see, copy.
Pleasure, Stephen.
Yeah.
There's one hand.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been very, very detailed. Been excellent.
Yeah. Hope I didn't rush too much.
No, it's good.
No,
Very good.
We spoke before a few weeks ago when we first talked about this, and you clearly know your ways very quickly as well, so that you don't hesitate. You know exactly what. So I definitely want to reach out to you again in the next few days, because I've sparked off another idea that we got from that. So we need to email me next couple of days and we'll talk about that offline. But no, appreciate your time.
Oh,
Brilliant,
Chetan,
brilliant.
sorry. Chetan's asked a question in the chat. Let me just zoom back up. If we have to prove cohabitation between myself and partner, is it better to get an affidavit from friends and family, or just a letter on normal people?
I was at a UK event on Wednesday, and I chatted to decision makers regarding this, and they say it's a common misunderstanding that these affidavits mean something to these decision makers. It takes a lot of their time to read and comprehend, and it doesn't necessarily align with their tick boxes. So what they're looking for when it comes to cohabitation is evidence that of shared living expenses like married couples do. I know I've said it before, but it really, that's all they prioritize. So they want to see that applicants share living expenses, and to do that, what they're looking for is utility bills or any accounts being sent to the same address in each of the partners' names. So that's the way that the government will identify that they share living costs like married couples.
Right. Thank you.
Well, here we are. I'll get a medal for ending these webinars on time.
Fantastic, you will.
Definitely.
You will.
Great, thanks everyone.
And I also just want to close off on the fact that tomorrow is my 40th birthday.
Well, shall we sing happy birthday to you?
Yeah.
It's okay.
It makes you like you're 13, Ryan.
Please don't.
Feels geluk, lieve Maatjie.
Donkey.
Right.
Donkey.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to you.
Happy
Have a great
If you
one.
had told me before, I would have baked a cake and we would have celebrated it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not singing happy
Exactly.
birthday. I thought we really were. Okay.
Sorry, Ronnie.
Happy birthday to you.
You.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear
Ryan.
Ryan.
Happy birthday
Happy
to
birthday
you.
to you.
everyone. Thank you,
Stefan's
thank
made you a cake.
Oh,
Hip
brilliant.
hooray.
Woohoo! Yo, that was quick.
Hey, who's good?
Okay. Well, take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everyone.
See you soon,
See you,
Ryan.
everyone.
Have a good
Appreciate your
evening.
time.
Mark,
Have a good one,
Ryan,
guys.
thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye
Keith.
now.